A ladybird leader. Dinosaurs. Written by Colin Douglas. Illustrated by B.H. Robinson. In the beginning, the world must have looked like this. At first, nothing lived on land or in the sea. There were no plants, no animals, no people. Life began in the sea. The first living things were very, very small. Some grew into tiny worms. Later, there were jellyfish, starfish, and sponges. Later still, there were living things that had shells. The Age of Fishes. Fish began to live in the sea. Some were very small. Some were as large as a bus. At this point, plants began to grow on the land. Some were like ferns. There were even tall trees. Some fish crawled onto the land. The world became a drier place. Many rivers and lakes dried up. Some fish had very strong fins, and they could crawl on the land with these. The first amphibians. Amphibians. After millions of years, some fish grew legs and had lungs. They had become amphibians. Amphibians can live on land and in the water. A larger amphibian. This larger amphibian lived in the warm swamps. A swamp is a place where water and mud collect. A very large amphibian. The very large amphibian on this page was more than 15 feet, 4.57 meters, long. Some amphibians were only 2 inches, 50 millimeters, long. The first reptiles. Slowly, some amphibians changed into reptiles. This may have been one of the first reptiles. This finback reptile ate plants. Reptiles lay their eggs on the land. Amphibians lay their eggs in the water. Another finback reptile. Diplodocus ate flesh, not plants. It probably ate amphibians. An amphibian and a reptile today. The frog is an amphibian. It lays its eggs in the water. An alligator is a reptile. It lays its eggs on the land. Sea reptiles. Some reptiles went back to live all the time in the water. The females did not lay eggs on land. The eggs hatched inside the females. Some plesiosaurs were more than 40 feet, 12.19 meters, long. They had very long necks. Their long necks helped when catching fish. Gliding reptiles. Some reptiles grew wings. The largest had a wingspan of 27 feet, 8.23 meters. Some were no larger than a small bird. These reptiles probably glided. They did not fly like birds. More about gliding reptiles. Gliding reptiles did not have feathers on their wings. Their wings were made of skin. They ate fish or small reptiles and insects. Footprints from the past. In America, monster footprints were found about 150 years ago. Later, some very large bones were found. A skeleton was built up with these bones. The footprints were those of a dinosaur. So were the bones. The word dinosaur means terrible lizard. Diplodocus and Brontosaurus. There were many types of dinosaur. They lived long before the first men. Some were very small and moved quickly, while others were very big and moved slowly. The dinosaurs in this picture were very heavy and slow. They did not like to fight. They felt safer in the water. Stegosaurus moved slowly. It had huge spikes on its tail. These ripped into attackers. Antrodemus hunted other animals. Its mouth opened so wide it could swallow small animals whole. Its back legs were 9 feet, 2.74 meters high. Hypsilophodon and Iguanadon. This dinosaur was quite small and ran quite quickly on 2 legs. It probably climbed trees to get away from its enemies. This one also ate plants and was larger. It had several rows of teeth. Each front leg had a bony spike. This spike was used when fighting. Polycanthus. The remains of this dinosaur were found in England. The double row of spikes on its back kept other animals away. Ankylosaurus. This dinosaur had an almost flat body, covered with bony plates. At the end of its tail was a big lump of bone with spikes. The tail was used as a club. Anatosaurus and Corythosaurus. Some dinosaurs had feet like a bird's. Dinosaurs probably croaked loudly when they were angry. Corythosaurus could swim well. Remains of it have been found in Canada. Its name means helmet reptile. The bony ridge on its head looks like a helmet. Protoceratops. In 1922, fossils of eggs like these were found in Mongolia. Each egg was about 8 inches, 203 millimeters long. Probably a dinosaur lived only 50 years. Styracosaurus and Tyrannosaurus. This dinosaur looked fierce, but ate plants, not other animals. It had a beak like a parrot's and long spikes on its head. This was the largest and most dreaded of the flesh-eating dinosaurs. Its jaw was 4 feet, 1.21 meters long, and it had terrible teeth, 6 inches, 152 millimeters long. Monoconeus and Triceratops. There were dinosaurs for nearly 150 million years. Those shown here were the last of the dinosaurs. Triceratops was a very big and savage fighter. Its 2 larger horns were more than 3 feet, 914 millimeters long. The first real birds. The first real birds lived at the time of the dinosaurs. They had feathered wings. These birds were as big as a crow. These birds had teeth like a reptile's. They had tails like a lizard's. These were covered in feathers. The first mammals. A mammal is an animal which is fed, when young, on its mother's milk. The first mammals lived at the time of the first birds. The first mammals were no larger than mice or rats. Later, the mammals became much bigger. This one was 18 feet, 5.48 meters high. More mammals. This animal was as big as an elephant. It looked fierce, but did not eat other animals. This animal was 3 times as tall as a man. It was 27 feet, 8.23 metres long, and ate leaves and twigs. The first horses. The first horse was Eohippus. It was only 12 inches, 304 millimetres, high. It had toes, not hooves. The woolly rhinoceros. In the Ice Ages, the world became very cold. The woolly rhinoceros lived then. Its long hairy coat kept it warm. The woolly mammoth. By this time, the first men were living. They painted pictures of this animal on the walls of their caves. They killed mammoths for food. The saber-toothed tiger. This tiger had front teeth 9 inches, 228 millimetres long. It could kill a mammoth.
I see a room, firelight, a red carpet, and a man. He's well-dressed, well-spoken, and noble. His clothes are years ago. Blood on his clothes. He is a man who murders.
He's a strangler who's escaped from an asylum for the criminally insane. He roams the countryside at night searching for fresh victims, laughing maniacally as he kills them.
He is a cursed immortal, existing on violence, fear, dread.
It's in the trees! It's coming! The demon! It's coming!
Bizarre visions and weird fictions, plus dramatic readings of vintage terrors from the fireside. All this and more awaits you in Hypnobob.